Welcome to the show, everybody. It's the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. Nice to have you along for the ride. Very excited about our guest today. Jameer Nelson joins the program. Now, Jameer Nelson, let's see here. St. Joe's undefeated season, first-round pick, not too shabby, and a 14-year NBA career. Most of that with the Orlando Magic. He had a short stint there with the Boston Celtics, but we won't get too far into that. Absolute legend in Philadelphia, and right now he is rising through the ranks of the 76ers front office. Right now he has gone from a scout to an assistant general manager, and now the general manager of the Delaware Bluecoats Sixers G League affiliate. He is the GM down there right now, and he is helping develop players. He is very much hands-on, as I think everyone would want him to be with that type of background, that type of experience. And we cover it all. We sat down for what was supposed to be about 10 minutes. We ended up talking for 22 minutes. It was just like that. And I'll tell you this, my major takeaway, after we talked about the development of some of the guys down there in the G League, Jaden Springer, who was down there in the G League, now up here with the 76ers. We also talked about the development of Tyrese Maxey. All of it. My major takeaway from my conversation with Jameer Nelson was, this guy's definitely going to be a GM in the NBA. It's long and short of it, that's the ultimate goal. I think right now he loves what he's doing because he's not just a G League general manager, as if that wouldn't be enough, but he's also on the advisory board for the 76ers themselves. So he gets a lot of face time and a lot of experience with Daryl Morey, Elton Brand. He talks about Elton Brand like he's a mentor to him. Very interesting stuff. But my major takeaway, and I hope you have the same takeaway as I do, this guy's going to be the GM one day. If not for the Sixers, somewhere else. He is that much on top of his game. And, some athletes, they really struggle to find out what they want to do after their playing days are over. But for Jameer Nelson, this was kind of pulling focus over the last couple of years of his career. It's pretty interesting. And also, I always wondered how close it got for him to be a 76er. He reveals pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. We'll get into that conversation with Jameer Nelson. We'll also, of course, with it being Trash Talk Week, with the Philadelphia Eagles getting ready to host the San Francisco 49ers, we will hear from Brian Johnson. It's not so much the trash talk going back and forth from the Eagles to the 49ers and the 49ers to the Eagles, but just some trash talk that's being slung and thrown in the way of Brian Johnson. I mentioned yesterday that he is now scoring 1/10 of a point more than Shane Steichen did last year. This game, this 37-point performance against the Buffalo Bills has put the Eagles over that mark from a year ago of 28.1 points per game to 28.2 points per game. Ironically enough, last year they were the third leading scoring team in the NFL. This year, right now, after this game against the Bills, they are the third leading scoring team in the NFL. But Brian Johnson was doing his press conference yesterday. Sean Desai also addressed the media yesterday. Michael Clay, special teams coordinator, addressed the media yesterday. So it was really interesting stuff yesterday. But the main thing is with Brian Johnson. And I talked yesterday about this kind of like this quad of blame being thrown at the Eagles and their play calling, whether it's Brian Johnson, whether it's Nick Sirianni, whether it's the meddling of owner, Jeffrey Lurie, or it's Jalen Hurts calling his own play at the line of scrimmage. We don't know where it comes from. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the guy that is not getting in the way of the offense performing at a high level this season, I'm going to go ahead and say that he's not terrible. Are there certain calls, certain plays, but the 3rd and 4 to Julio Jones against the Bills? I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. But I don't know if that's a check down play. I don't know if that's something that Jalen Hurts is doing. I don't know if that's something Nick Sirianni is doing. Because the thing, and I'm not looking to skirt blame from Brian Johnson. I'm just saying we don't know where to put the blame when it comes to that quad of blame for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I take it like this with Brian Johnson. Overall, I've seen the flashes that I've seen many times, as I've said many times about him as an offense coordinator and play caller this season. You don't really know where credit is due. You don't really know where blame is due. But Nick Sirianni seems to have continued confidence in him. And you can file it under what's he gonna say. But when a coach or a player like Jalen Hurts just start going off on a little bit of a tangent about how good a coach is, or in this case, a coordinator is, in this case, supposedly the majority play caller for the Philadelphia Eagles, when they go to the nth degree and not just, yeah, he's great. when they start really explaining it, that's where I start to actually believe them. When they're short on the topic, they don't want to say anything. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say anything. When they're short on the topic, that's where I look at it and go, oh, they're lying. But both Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni over the last couple of weeks, and Nick Sirianni more so than Jalen Hurts, have offered and lavished praise of Brian Johnson. There is one huge thing, though, when it comes to criticism of Brian Johnson that I think people can start looking the other direction. And that has to do with Brian Johnson in the first quarter. Brian Johnson in the first 15 plays that are supposedly scripted. And he said yesterday there's a general script that they try to stick to, but, the game plan changes. Once the game starts, everyone's got a plan until you got punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson, of course. And Brian Johnson talked about it yesterday when it came to that general game plan. But that general game plan, that's where Nick Sirianni has his fingerprints on the Eagles' production offensively more than any other time in the game, with the exception of being going for it on fourth down. I would assume that comes down to the head coach. Tush push, dial it up, brotherly shove, let's make it happen. That is where I look more at Nick Sirianni. So if you're talking about slow starts, well, excuse me, but I believe that's where Nick Sirianni's game plan is supposed to be most effective. If Nick Sirianni really is involved in the game plan and has the overall say on what they plan to do in a game, then that first quarter and those slow starts over the last couple of weeks, that doesn't look great. That doesn't look great and reflect great upon Nick Sirianni. But as the game goes on, and I would assume in the second half, Brian Johnson maybe has a little bit more sway. So maybe he gets a little bit more of the credit for teams' turnaround in the second half. Well, then if he's going to get that credit, what do I do with Jalen Hurts? Well, again, it comes down to that quad-o blame for the Philadelphia Eagles, or quad-o praise of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's so diverse. It's so diluted. I don't know who to give credit to. I don't know who to give blame to. I don't know. All I know is the guy that's really making things happen for this Eagles offense above all else is Jalen Hurts. And yesterday I saw the odds again. I think it was a plus 33, plus 300, plus 330, excuse me. Plus 330 for odds to make the to win the MVP this year. And I saw then people arguing against it. And I don't understand. For me, is it the most clutch thing? Is it the most valuable thing to be a guy that is never out of a game? And isn't it the most clutch thing to do that, I don't know, 10 times out of 11 during the course of a season? Isn't it enough to prove that this is not a fluke, that he is this good, that he is this great of a quarterback? The fact that last year the only guy he lost to was Patrick Mahomes? I don't understand any negativity. And I saw Mark Schlereth, whose opinion I respect. And I know a lot of people got on Mark Schlereth a couple of weeks ago, excuse me, when he was ripping Philadelphia and, the fans of Philadelphia, sore winners and all that stuff. I don't disagree with anything he said, to be honest with you. I think Mark Schlereth is exactly right. That whole thing of you don't like us, no, we don't care. Oh, no. We care. We care enough that we want to, rip you for ripping us. We definitely care. Do we also use it as motivation as a city, and does that football team use it as a motivation? Absolutely. Mark Schlereth said this is the prove-it game for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see what the Eagles are really made of. And you know what? He's right. The Eagles have had tough opponents this season. The Eagles went into this season with a pretty damn tough schedule, and they're 10-1 overall. They went up against a team on the road in the New England Patriots to start things off. Obviously, the Patriots proved not to be really good this football season. So, all right, moving on. Not a brag to beat them. The Buccaneers, not a brag to beat the Buccaneers. Then the Eagles, they go and face a team they faced the Minnesota Vikings, and then they faced the Buccaneers. Then they faced Washington. They struggled with them, but oh my God, they won. No way. Then they go and face Los Angeles in LA on the road. Second half turnaround. Oh my God, they won. No way. Then they face the Jets. Womp, womp. Then they beat Miami. Miami's a pretty good football team. They go around, they beat Washington again. They're a little too close for comfort again. Then they beat the Dallas Cowboys. Then they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they beat the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Buffalo Bills this season, as we pointed out, all throughout, Monday and Tuesday this week, good, a lot of talent on that football team, but not a good football team because they find ways to lose games. The Eagles find ways to win games. But my point is, you look at teams like the Miami Dolphins, You look at teams like the Dallas Cowboys, believe it or not, the Kansas City Chiefs, Eagles beat those teams. They have been tested this year. And they did, by the way, against Kansas City and against Buffalo in pretty crappy conditions. One of those being on the road. You beat the Cowboys, great. Cowboys haven't been able to beat anybody over 500, and they've lost to a team that's under 500 in the Cardinals. So now they have to face a team like the San Francisco 49ers, who all, except for a 3-game losing streak this season, have been pretty remarkable again this year. This is the game, even more so than the Chiefs, because that's an AFC opponent. Doesn't affect your standings as much as it would if it was an NFC opponent. If you didn't look at this schedule when it came out and circle as the most important game, this 49ers game, for a whole bevy of reasons, I don't know what you're looking at. And if the rah-rah rivalry stuff of the Cowboys was bigger to you than that, then you know what? I get it. That's implanted in your brain as an Eagles fan for generations. But for me, looking at this game, it's the biggest game of the season. Whether it's the trash talk, the boo-hoo stuff that we talked about with Hassan Reddick yesterday, saying that there was a lot of crying after the NFC Championship game from the 49ers, that if we would have had this and we would have had that and we would have done this, then we would have been in the Super Bowl. Fine. This is the game where you can put all those doubters to rest. This is where you can put all that trash talk and just put it right where it should be, in the trash bin, all right? In the circular file, if you will. This is the biggest game of the year. And when you look at the comments made by Mark Schlereth about how this is what we'll really see if the Eagles are made of what they're supposed to be made of and all that stuff. Yeah. To this point, they're made up to be a 10-1 football team with an MVP quarterback and an offensive coordinator in his first year as a play caller that is already getting talk about being a head coach next year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I don't understand the doubt that has gone into this season, but this is a whole new ball game against the Niners. And why is that? Because it's the biggest game of the year. You're talking about teams 1 and 2 in the NFC. You're talking about teams that met in the championship game last season. And you're talking about a team in the 49ers that feel like they were completely robbed in losing that football game to the Philadelphia Eagles because they were down to their I think they were down to their trainer. Their trainer was their quarterback. I think if you ask them, their trainer was their quarterback in that game. This might not be the division rivalry that people are all hungry over and really people want to see, but this is the bigger rivalry. This is the conference rivalry. This is for the right to go to a Super Bowl. Not right now, but later on in the season, in the playoffs, where it actually matters above all else. You win this game, you're feeling pretty damn confident about getting back to the Super Bowl. You lose this game, all right. Now, home field advantage is in question. We don't know what we're going to be getting. Can you beat this team in the playoffs? I thought before the year, the game we were really looking at as to be the biggest measuring stick to win a Super Bowl was going to be that game against Kansas City Chiefs. But the biggest measuring stick to even get to that Super Bowl is this game against the San Francisco 49ers. That's the biggest thing we're looking at going into the playoffs. 10-1, taking on San Francisco 49ers team that is coming here thirsty for blood Sunday at 4:25. I mentioned earlier Brian Johnson addressed the media yesterday. There's two things that he was asked about, and they were right out of the gate during the press conference that I thought were pretty interesting. One has to do with the slow starts. So we'll talk about that. And then the follow-up is the criticism that he has received from media and the fan base, myself included. Look, when I see the bubble screens galore, I do look at Brian Johnson for that, but I also know that has been a comfort zone for Jalen Hurts to this point in his career. And even Shane Steichen last year talked about how that's going to be something that maybe the Eagles go to a little too much. Maybe Jalen Hurts checks to a little too much. And it was after the Arizona Cardinals game in Arizona last year where they were bubble screening the hell out of him. And it just barely worked, but it worked. But he talks about that and also talks about the criticism. Here is Brian Johnson yesterday on where his third-ranked offense is and the criticism he's received, as well as the slow starts for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, we just got to find a rhythm. And initially it's just about, the first down, and really I think you just got to think really short term of like, okay, what can we do to get the first one going, and then we can roll a little bit. So, obviously the last 2 weeks hasn't been great with our first drive, and that's something that we got to continue to look at, continue to improve upon.
Brian, are you aware that you've become sort of like a focal point for criticism when things don't go well on offense?
For me, I don't really pay attention to all of the outside stuff, but I think that's the nature of the job. It's very simple. Call the plays that work, and when they don't work, that's ultimately my responsibility, right? So, I accept that with open arms, and for me, that's I'm never going to waver. I'll always remain confident and steady with our approach.
Love it. What do you want to be like? Hey, that's a great point. No, I suck. No, of course not. Of course, he's not going to say that. I just can't look at him as to blame all the struggles for the Eagles' offense this season. I know a lot of people are, but he's already getting his name thrown into the ring there for head coaching candidacy around the NFL. His name is already being brought up in those circles. The Panthers, for instance, just to name one team, with Frank Reich, being relieved of his duties, he's already being brought up to be a head coach next season. Back-to-back years where the Eagles have to replace their offensive coordinator. Eagles are going to get a compensatory pick, by the way, for Brian Johnson if he's hired elsewhere as a head coach. Same thing, Sean Desai. If he gets hired as a head coach somewhere else, another compensatory pick. It's a very interesting thing here that's going on with Philadelphia Eagles and their coordinators. Because so far, both of them have been, hate to use a baseball analogy, but knocking the ball out of the park in their positions. Biggest question marks going into the season, and so far, both of them have allowed this defense and this offense to not miss a beat. So I got to agree with what Nick Sirianni said last week about how this offense hasn't missed a beat. And I also have to agree with a lot of the praise that's been going on. I've been doing it myself when it comes to Sean Desai and making sure this defense is ready to play each and every week. Some weeks easier than others, goes without question. Some weeks easier than others. I looked at the chat, and we'll get to most of this stuff, obviously, during the chat check. But one thing jumped out to me. Go Sixers. Thank you, Go Sixers. Why isn't it a prove-it week for the 49ers? It is. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not interested in the 49ers. I'm interested in what the Eagles do. But you're absolutely right to ask the question, and it's a great point. The 49ers lose this game. To argue from their side of it, they lose this game, and it's their fourth loss of the season. The Eagles have only lost one. The Eagles improved to 11-1. And everything that the 49ers were bitching and moaning about, yes, they're absolutely trying to prove that last year was luck. And they could certainly put a feather in their cap by winning this game and trying to prove that last year was luck. Oh, we didn't have Purdy the whole game. We knocked them out of the game. We're a dirty team. Oh, dirty team? Really? Really? Did you see what the Bills just did to the Eagles? Did you see what the Bills just did to an Eagles fan? And the Eagles are a dirty team? I don't think so. It's proven for both, but I'm only concerned with the Eagles proving it. The 49ers lose this game, and then you know what they really are then? They're 40 whiners. But here's what's really great about it. The 49ers lose this game, and they'll find something else to whine about. They'll find something else to call lucky. They'll find something else to bitch and moan about until the Eagles and 49ers eventually face each other in the playoffs. That's what's going to go down with that. Let me tell you right now about MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Check out the wonderful people at MyBookie.ag and all they have to offer at MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has it all. You want to bet on anything, anytime, anywhere? Bet with MyBookie. Use promo code Farzy for up to $1,000 cash bonus. Redeemable for $1,000. How about that? Cash bonus $1,000 when you use promo code Farzy at MyBookie.ag. That's MyBookie.ag. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag. Without further ado, let's jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Catch up with former St. Joe Hawk, current and always St. Joe Hawk legend, 20 years, since the 27-0 season with the St. Joe Hawks and current GM for the Delaware Bluecoats. Jameer Nelson joins us right now. The Rothman Orthopedics guest line, an NBA All-Star, a Philadelphia Big Five legend, a college basketball legend, really. And right now, this man has been elevated from the position of assistant general manager to general manager of the 76ers G League affiliate, the Delaware Bluecoats. Jameer Nelson joins us. Jameer, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'll be better once we get a couple more wins, but we're getting better every day, and that's the goal, obviously, to win and develop these guys. And I think they're doing a good job of progressing. Our coaching staff has been great. Our team in general has been great. So, just one step at a time. One step at a time. We have a younger group this year than we've had in the last couple, and just trying to implement some things that we want done and to help these guys progress moving forward.
Well, once again, congratulations on the promotion. This is incredible. I know you've been an executive already with the Bluecoats, and now you have the big boy title, as it's called here, the general manager. People can follow the Bluecoats, of course, on all social media platforms as well. And you guys have a youth camp coming up. One date is already ticked off of here, but December 30th, that's a Sunday. And then Saturday, December 3rd and December 30th, you guys have a youth basketball clinic. So make sure everyone checks that out if you want to send a kid to a great basketball camp. Jameer, how does it change for you going from assistant to general manager? How does that role change? Is it more meetings with the 76ers themselves, or is it more hands-on? How does the role change for you?
Well, I've for the last year or two, I was already in the executive group with the 76ers front office. So it's just me making some of the decisions and problem solving and thinking things through with the team that I have. I mean, Prosper, who was kind enough to take me under his wing and show me the ropes over the last few years, has been great. So I lean on him a lot. I lean on Prosper, who was the general manager before me. So, he's an awesome person and really good at his job. So, and we see eye to eye. I think it makes things easier when you can have somebody helping you out that think similar to you, but also challenges you as well.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to your NBA career, 14 seasons, making an all-star team, of course, that long run with the Orlando Magic, obviously, but in your mind, with all the GMs you have played for, what to you makes a good general manager?
I think you have to be able to connect and adapt to the guys. Obviously, you have to do the admin work and the things you need to do for the trades and all that stuff. But also, you have to be real with these guys and tell them the truth. And also, like I said, you can't walk around like the boss. I walk around in the locker room and I'm myself. And I think guys respect that. I don't want them to, because I played and it gets dicey around trade deadline all the time for whatever reason. When you see the general manager, you're like, oh man, here he comes. Am I getting traded? So I want to try to negate that by just, building a relationship with each and every person in the building, step by step and day by day. And I think those who I've been around that have done that have had success individually and in a team environment.
I'm always curious to ask athletes this question, when they knew they could make it professionally. But I've never asked a general manager of any level this question. When did it click for you that, okay, maybe I can go into an executive role when my playing career is over?
Not in a cocky way. I felt like because of my career and my style of play, I can kind of pick a lane and succeed in that lane, whether it was coaching, whether it's front office, whether it's broadcasting, whether it's it was agency, whatever. I felt like because of who I am and what I'm about, the toughest part was just picking a lane. And, I have different people pulling at me, different teams pulling at me for different opportunities, which I'm grateful for, different media outlets pulling at me. And, even my wife, she's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's like a kid. I don't know what I want to do, when I grow up until I grow up. And now that I, stopped playing and I had time to almost debrief and figure things out, having multiple conversations with Elton at the time over the years, just trying to, he did a great job trying to help me out, figure out what I wanted to do. And to me, that's what the NBA is all about, helping one another out. I mean, it's a small group of people that actually play in NBA and, for a long period of time, like myself and Elton. So, we developed a relationship over the years as competitors, and being as though he was in the Philly area, I got to hang out with them and work out with them and do things. So we developed a real relationship. And, I told him I didn't know initially. And then I said, look, I want to be a GM. And he said he would like help me towards my goal. So far, I think everything's been great.
Mm-hmm. Is he the one that you pretty much talk to the most inside that leadership committee, executive committee?
Everybody. I mean, you have to, like, especially with myself running the Blue Coats, I have to be almost like in communication with everybody. We have meetings all the time, and I have to update the group, give them team updates, individual updates, updates on other guys around the league, but also have responsibility with the Sixers too, with scouting and like I said, being in the executive group.
Mm-hmm. And now I want to ask you about a couple of guys down there with the Blue Coats right now. And one is Ricky Council, because this guy just jumped through the court, jumped through the hoop throughout Summer League. How is his maturation process going there with the Blue Coats?
It's different than what he's used to, especially like normally when you have a guy who comes from college and has the ball in his hands as much as some of our guys has had in the past in college. You have to kind of tweak it a little bit and like put them in their NBA role. And, like you have to allow also space for them or runway for them to be themselves too. In certain instances, like we can't have Ricky on the ball as much, but we can be strategic in how to make him or help him become productive in his role. And the one thing that he's brought into is he's cutting more. We want him to offensive rebound as much as possible, get out on the break, and mainly just make 0.5, it's called 0.5 mentality. Just catch it, shoot it, drive it, pass it. Like, think quick, process the game, and do it. Like, after that, like, let your instincts take over. And he's done a great job of progressing in that area. I give him credit. Like, you can see him actively working towards it, and it's shown on the court, like not just numbers, but just the way he's processing the game at a higher level.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was amazed by him in Summer League, really enjoyed him. Another guy is Travion Smith, and I hope I'm saying that name correctly. I always seem to butcher it, but how has he been coming along as far as, his improvement and his work ethic?
We just call him Turk. Turk. He's a guy, obviously on a two-way contract with us. He's coming off the bench, for myself and the group, we felt like, and for Turk as well, you give him credit. He saw himself like being a spark off the bench is just important as being a starter. So he comes in and he does his thing. Some of the shots that he takes are like shots that nobody else can make. So we want to put him in a position, put him in a group that allows him to have that space to be productive and to grow. So he's done a great job. You see the first couple games, he took, I think, I don't know, it took a lot of shots. And then we talked to him. We like, hey, let's get better shots. You can still take the same shots, but let's take better shots. And he's done a great job after the first couple games of understanding what the offense is and what coach wants and how to pick his spots. Again, just being able to process the game at a higher level is a goal of mine to help these guys become who they can be as basketball players.
I'm curious. We're getting to see this guy at the NBA level now in Jaden Springer, and he really, really impressed me in the preseason. This guy could really have an opportunity here at the NBA to really make an impact here as a guy coming off the bench. And so far, I think to this point in the regular season for the Sixers, he has done that. How does it work? Do the Sixers ask the Blue Coats, to you guys, when you get in those meetings, this is what we want him to work on specifically, and then you make sure those things are implemented in the game? That's one question surrounding Jaden Springer, and just overall your opinion to the player.
It's lots of group thinking. On how to make the player better, how to help the player get in the rotation, how to get the player to help the team. The main thing for Jaden is his defense. His defense is it's close to being elite, to be honest with you. You can see when he's in a game now. I saw it the last couple of years in the G League, but like in NBA games, he's so strong, so active, and he processes the game at such a high level defensively. That's his elite skill. That makes him elite and a really good NBA player. Offensively, he's still learning the game, but he's growing. Like you can see the guy's trusting him more. He's trusting himself. Just have to continue to gain the confidence to know that he belongs. And we're all seeing it. We're all seeing him grow up in front of our eyes. I mean, you got to realize too, the kid is only 21 years old. So most of the guys that were drafted the last couple of years are still either his age or like maybe a year younger or older. So being able to do what he did in the G League amongst men was impressive. People look at the G League and say it's the minor leagues. Yeah, but you have to realize it's only 400 and however many spots in the NBA. And guys like Chris Paul and LeBron and so on and so forth has held a spot for numerous amount of years, right? So you put that in perspective and say, okay, there's a lot of pros, a lot of guys that belong in the NBA down in the G League. So the G League is actually a really good, tough league. And each year it gets harder and harder. You can see, we played against Westchester and they had Charlie Brown, Dwayne Washington. They got older guys who can play in the NBA. They just haven't had a lengthy opportunity.
Yeah, I remember playing against men is a great way to put it. The other side of it is a guy that wasn't playing down there in the with the blue coats, obviously, and that's Tyrese Maxey. If I could ask you to take your GM hat off for a second and maybe shift to 14-year NBA guard, put that hat on for a second. When you watch Tyrese Maxey, how do you see him developing and what do you think of him right now?
I mean, the combination of there's three things for me with him. It's the speed, the touch around the basket, and his long range shooting. That's a unique combination for a guard to have. Like I tell my players, I tell people all the time in general, I have no idea how he goes so fast and still has that sort of a touch at the basket. And it's not like he's slowing down the door. He's still going, his max speed finishing. So that to me is like very impressive. And the long range shooting is they go hand in hand. Like if you can get to the basket, people are afraid of, that. So then the long distance shot becomes a little easier during the course of a game. But I think he's on a great trajectory of being a star in the league. I think, he's obviously one of the hardest working dudes in the gym all the time. And he's starting to solidify himself as I don't know. I mean, he's still early in the season, but like he's one of the top guards in the East.
Is it crazy to think about him for All-Star consideration this year?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it obviously it comes down to him continue to play at a high level, but also like the team winning. I think we're in a good spot right now in terms of the standing. So the more you win, the more All-Stars you get in.
Absolutely. Jameer, it's almost 20. Well, first of all, one last thing on the NBA. After it was all said and done in college and you had this long NBA career, was it ever close? How close was it ever when it came to maybe playing for the Sixers?
Oh, it was close. It was really close. It was actually really close. I came down to their like summer workouts and played a couple days or whatever, a couple weeks. I think it was like in September. And, talked to people I needed to talk to in the front office and the coaching staff. I'm sure the room was split. That's kind of what I heard. The room was split. But it would have been a dream come true. Like, who doesn't want to play for their hometown team? Now it's a catch-22 that I'm working for them. Like, so I kind of got the fix I need. I'm working for my hometown team. And growing up watching Barkley, AI, all those guys, so much history in the organization. Just an honor to be able to like work for that logo, the 76er.
Now, when you say close, is this in the middle of or your run with Orlando, at the end of the run with Orlando? At what point in your career is this?
This was when my career was over. Like this would have been year 15 for me. It would have been year 15. And I mean, I don't know if I went at it as hard as I could. It just didn't happen.
There's just a little bit left in the tank. There's just a little bit left.
Yeah, I feel like I could have helped the team in the locker room as a leader, but also on the court. But everything happens for a reason. I'm here now. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm learning. I'm growing. So, And then I think the main thing for me was like I wanted to be around my family too. Like I hadn't been around my wife and kids as much as I probably would have liked my last few years in the league.
It really is. It's such an incredible NBA career, man. You made everybody in Philadelphia proud. I'm a Temple guy, and I'm cheering you on as a St. Joe's guy, man. And when I look back on that 27-0 run, it was just something magical that a city school could do this the way you guys were doing it, and getting to know Phil Martelli in the years after the run, being in the media, just a phenomenal human being. When you look back on that 27-0 season, now 20 years removed from it, what are some of the first memories that really jump to mind about that magical run?
We just were having fun. Like I don't think, I know I didn't feel the pressure until like we were like game 18, 19 or something like that. But up until then, it was just fun. Like our practices were competitive. Coach mixed the groups up. It wasn't like a starting group versus the second group up until like the day before the game. Like everything was just fun. Like myself and Delonte would compete against each other every day. Probably the best guard that ever guarded me was Tyrone Barley. Who pushed me. Like we came in together in 2000 and spent 4 years together, and he tortured me on the court. But it ultimately made me better, made me a better player, made me a better teammate and leader. Just knowing that these guys had my back, and I think that's the main thing. I don't think we had the most talented team, but I think we did have like one of the best teams by definition in college. Like when it comes down from coaching staff, the administration, the fans, obviously being in a big city like Philly, we kind of took the world over. It's kind of weird thinking about it now, like being 20 years removed from it. Makes me feel old, but also I feel like I accomplished something, especially, so many college athletes out there who want to be able to like be known for their accomplishments. And I'm always going to be a part of the St. Joe's Hawk legacy because of that year. And I'm very fortunate for that.
I remember you guys on Sports Illustrated, and then recently I heard a story. Is it true that they came to you and said, "We want you on the cover," and you're like, "Hey, let's get the guys involved. Let's get the team involved." Is that?
You know what? I never was a guy like put it like this. We all like attention, but I wasn't an attention seeker, and I'm still not. But it's an accomplishment for the team. It wasn't just for me. Like I can't. It's cliche, but you can't do it without those guys. I can recall some of my teammates like saying, well, this was my junior year. It's like, hey, if you don't shoot the ball every time, we don't have a chance. Like, and I was like, I'm cramping up. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I think we were playing Xavier. They were like ranked 20 in the country. But my teammate, Dwayne Jones, was like, you have to shoot every time. And I took 34 shots. And after the game, I was like, we lost, but I was like, wow, that's kind of cool to see my teammates like pick me up and like understand like, hey, we need you to do this, instead of like being upset for me taking that amount of shots.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You guys became the first athletes, Philly athletes there to be on Sports Illustrated since Mark Macon, I believe, did it with Temple in the late 80s, 88, I want to say. So that's an incredible feat. And the actual, what is also pretty cool is the 27-0. That's pretty good also. Two things about that team. One, I just want to ask you if you've had any recent contact with Delonte West. I ask you out of concern. Everyone in Philadelphia, whenever they see his name, they're always concerned and they want to know. So any update on that situation?
No update. Again, and I've said this before, when you're dealing with somebody that you care about with mental health, it's tough because it's a real thing. And I wish him the best, and hopefully he gets himself going in the right direction. But the guy, like for what he did at St. Joe's and what he did in his NBA careers, he's still a legend. He's still a legend on Hawk Hill, and he didn't have a long tenure career, but he had a good career for people to understand who he was and what he could have done if things would have continued for him.
How much of Phil Martelli is in Jameer Nelson now that Jameer Nelson's not playing? Now that you're not playing, do you think about things Phil talked to you about, trying to help other players develop? Is that in your head at all?
Phil was the first person to tell me, to whom much is given, much is expected, right? And that's one of the quotes, is quoted a little different in the Bible, but he told me that, and I don't know if I had a bad game or bad practice or whatever, but it happens. And he came to me. He sat me down. He taught me a lot of other life lessons along the way as well. But Phil, like, and this is what I want for my kids as they go through their college career. Phil has become he was my coach, my mentor, and now my friend. And that's what it's all about. Like, I can't say anything. I can't say nothing but good things about the man. Like, he really cared about the group overall, but also, like, individually, like, he taking players out the ice cream and doing this and doing, like, it's just like things that he did, like, that made the team secure individually and collectively, but also he gave us, like, that confidence of, like, hey, we can do this. Like, we're better than this team, so let's go prove it. And we took on his personality for the most part, and we obviously had a successful run.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know you're ecstatic. You're happy to have the job you have now, but I would assume that the job maybe later on, the dream now would be NBA general manager. Is that in your sights? Do you have your eyes set on that goal down the line at some point?
For sure. I'm just taking it one step at a time. It's a process to this. You can't, like, everybody doesn't get the big job in a year or two or whatever, 5 years. It's time. Like, it takes time. I want to be able to have longevity when I do it. I want to have 15, 20-year career doing that too. So I definitely want it. Am I in a rush? I'm not saying, like, hey, I need to do this tomorrow. You know what I mean? But it will happen as long as I continue to work and be myself and learn what I need to learn to be successful.
Well, hey, Jameer, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and have this conversation. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Again, congratulations on the incredible promotion. That's fantastic. And make sure everyone is following the Delaware Blue Coats on all social media, including X/Twitter. People can check it out right there. And you know what? I don't know. Maybe Blue Coats general manager Jameer Nelson will be at this youth clinic scouting talent for the future. You never know. Of course, Sunday, December 3rd, 1 to 3, and Saturday, December 30th. Make sure you guys check out the Instagram account there of the Delaware Blue Coats, as well as check them out on their website, as well at the Chase Fieldhouse, ages 5 to 12. Jameer, thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jameer Nelson joining us here on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. How about that guy? How about Jameer Nelson? Not to be cocky, but I can pretty much do anything I wanted after my career. That guy's going to be an NBA GM one day. And, yeah, he's not wrong. And I love the way he put it, too. He's like, look, I because of the way I played the game, I felt like I could just pick a lane. I felt like if I picked a lane, I could be successful in anything I did. And I believe him. I mean, if you watch him play at St. Joe's, if you watch him play in the NBA, that sounds like Jameer Nelson. If you talk to anybody that really knows him, I had the opportunity to talk to Phil Martelli a lot, and he's just bound to do great things. He's destined to do great things. He's that diverse of a thinker, and he's that talented of a human being. So I wish him nothing but success and continue to develop those young talents for the 76ers. Jaden Springer, his defense is already at an elite level. And then he talked about that soft touch of Tyrese Maxey being able to go that fast, that hard at the rim, and then just loft. Those little teardrops, those little runners, those little banks, those little layups. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Jameer Nelson joining the program right there. Make sure you guys check out all things Delaware Blue Coats in the not too distant future here. Let me tell you right now about our friends at PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. We got a new sponsor joining the program, and I just want to give them some love. They're going to start up officially later this week, but I want to give the Game Time app some love. GameTime.co. Check out GameTime.co or the Game Time app right now, ladies and gentlemen, because have you ever gotten tickets to a sporting event and been like, I don't even know about these. I don't know if they're good. I don't know where the seats are. This is too much of a hassle. Well, browse the Game Time app and make sure that you take advantage of all they have to offer when it comes to sporting events, as well as shows, concerts, all the arenas. They have flash deals, last-minute tickets. They have zone deals as well. And this is all with the Game Time app. So you can download the Game Time app to your phone. And also make sure you take advantage at gametime.co. Welcome to the Farzy Show family. Game Time app. Nice to have you along for the ride. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat check. See what's going on today. Let's get to that chat check. Started over on the Farzy Show page. Know a lot of people talking Eagles today, as you would assume. Good morning, Sean Gillespie. Good morning, Sean Kilrain. Good morning, April. Go Sixers. Good morning. Go Sixers is Team Johnson. I'm Team Johnson as well. Wine Niners wine. God morning, all. Good morning. It's Winer Week. I like that too. Sean Kilrain. I know it's the Reddick show. Wait, hold on. Oh, the Hassan Reddick show. Sorry, was in the line of thinking basketball. I know it's the Debo better bring his lunch. Go Sixers had a good comment about why isn't it a prove-it week for the Niners. Here's one other thought I had on that. Because the whiners are the have-nots. The Eagles are the haves. You understand what I'm saying? The Eagles are the team that everyone's looking at. They're the team to beat. And they haven't been blowing out teams. I meant to actually, oh, darn it. I meant to look this up before the show. We'll make sure I got this for you. For yous, guys. Point differential. The updated point differential in the NFL. Okay. Holy Stromboli. All right. The Dallas Cowboys are at a plus 162. Okay. The Dallas Cowboys have beaten their opponents by 162 points this season. Or lost by. All right. 160 points. They've scored 162 points more than their opponents. San Francisco 49ers are in second now at 140. The Baltimore Ravens have slipped to 137. They are in third place. The Philadelphia Eagles are at plus 64. They're at plus 64. That ranks them Cowboys, 49ers, Ravens, Bills, Dolphins, Chiefs, Eagles. At what? At 64. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in the NFL in point differential with the best record in the NFL. If you're looking around as a non-Eagles fan and you're seeing that, you think the Eagles are frauds. Well, how does a team like the Cowboys have a plus 162 and they're 8-3 and they're not the best team? How do the San Francisco 49ers? They're 8-3 and they've beaten teams by 140 points this season. How do you look at that and go, oh, no, the Eagles are frauds? That's what people do. You know why? Because those are just stats. Those are just numbers. The only thing that really matters is 10, and then over here, the number 1. Just like the only thing that matters up here is, oh, the 8, right over here, and then slightly to the right of it, boom, the number 3. Those are the only stats that really matter. Because what this doesn't take into account is, what do you call it, clutchness. I don't know. The other part of the counter argument is, oh, why do you even need to be clutch? Why do you even need to struggle that much in the first half and then have to rally in the second half? I don't know, but it's kind of working. That's why this season is a perfect example of it when you talk about stats like this, numbers like this, because I always say numbers never lie, but they sure as hell can deceive. And this is a perfect example of that. There's no lie that the Cowboys have beaten teams. They're 162 points. All right. That's the amount of points they've scored. All right. That's pretty damn good in terms of comparison to the amount of points they've scored and lost in those games. The 3 of them compared to the Eagles, only 1. I'm not lying to you. Those numbers aren't lying, but that's deceptive. So, wow, they're really good. So they must beat a lot of good teams. Nope. Haven't beaten 1. Well, how do they score all those points? The Giants twice. That's how that happened. That's how that happened. San Francisco 49ers, great team. Brock Purdy leading the NFL in passer rating, plus 140, excuse me. The Ravens, pretty damn good team, 9-3 on the season, 137. Bills are 4th on that list. Dolphins, the Dolphins had a 70-point performance this season. They're only at plus 88. The Chiefs are a plus 75. Eagles, like I said, in 7th with plus 64. And then it drops off significantly. The Detroit Lions, also 8-3. They're at plus 36. The team with with the highest number of wins and lowest point differential is actually Doug Peterson's Jacksonville Jaguars. 8-3 with a plus 28 on the season for point differential. Now, if you're objective, if you haven't watched every Eagles game, maybe you've only watched the primetime games, maybe you only catch highlights on Sports Center or Scott Van Pelt or whatever, you're watching it and you go, oh, they're not that good. Nah, look at that. They're lucky. They're lucky. That should have been a holding call. That should have been a pass interference. You're not wrong, but, the penalties definitely go both ways. People miss a lot of penalties. Bottom line is 10-1. They figure out a way to win. The other teams, what's funny is the other team still has chances to win despite bad calls. Just like the Eagles have chances to win despite bad calls, except that the Eagles actually win. Bottom line, they win. What else we got here? Sean Kilran, what's going on? Biggest game. It's the biggest game in the NFL season, says Go Sixers. All right. Sean Gillespie, these owners, Brian Johnson hasn't even been a coordinator for a year. Yeah, man. The Eagles got that magic. Like Jalen Hurts is going to become a kingmaker. This is what's going to happen. Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Because Nick Sirianni has already got that gig. Nick Sirianni already has the dream job of being an NFL head coach. And he's got the quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So anybody that comes in as an offensive coordinator, anybody that comes in as a play caller, they're getting that magic between Sirianni and Hurts. And yeah, mostly from Jalen Hurts, but also the opportunity afforded by Nick Sirianni to not call plays makes you a hell of a lot more important as an offensive coordinator. That's pretty damn good. So the rest of the league looks at that Eagles magic and goes, can you guys just sprinkle a little of that magic on me, please? Thank you very much. Wine Niners wine. Excuses, they lose. Oh, they'll have all the excuses just like they did last year. Why Niners wine? I don't doubt that. Go Sixers. Niners have been waiting for this Sunday since late April. Birds can crush their spirit. It would be a beautiful thing. Sean Kilrain, hold that thought on Bradley Cooper because it is fantastic. We're going to get to that in the morning rush. Sean Gillespie. Why is that being weird? Stop being weird. Not you, Sean, my computer. Where'd you go? Oh, yeah. All right. Sean Gillespie, go Jameer. Absolutely. Sean Kilrain, you can hear and see it from the way Jameer is talking that he is what it takes to be a GM. He is what it takes to be a GM in the national in the association. Best of luck to him. I've always been a fan. How could you not be? Oh, always wanted him to be a Sixer. Yeah. So I went back and I looked at it for Jameer Nelson. That would have been for Jameer. That would have been the tail end of the Colangelo era and the beginning of the Elton Brand era. So it might have been Brian Colangelo as the GM of the 76ers that said no to Jameer Nelson. I don't like Jameer saying I didn't give full in. I didn't go full in. Now, he ended up playing his last year with the Detroit Pistons. He was with the Pelicans and the Pistons. But he said at the end of his career, tried out for the Sixers. I would assume if Elton Brand was the GM, then Elton Brand would have made Jameer Nelson a 76er. Maybe it was Brett Brown. Maybe Brett. I don't want Jameer. I don't want Jameer. That's a little too Schwarzenegger. But yeah, maybe. Maybe. Would have loved to see him in a Sixers jersey. Absolutely. Would have been fantastic. Mihai Sanchez, try running the ball, opening drive, 3 and out versus San Francisco, and we're going to be in another hole. Yeah, I agree. Here's the second half against the 49ers. I do not want to see the Eagles in a position where they have to come back from 10 down. I don't want to see where they have to come back from 14 down. I want to see them in control of the game going into halftime. Is that too much to ask? Be in control of the game going into halftime? Is that crazy? Is that bonkers? Is that nuts? Sean Gillespie, did the Patriots of old blow teams out of the water during multiple Super Bowl runs and wins? The only one I really remember them completely poop cannon teams was the undefeated season after it was Spygate, where they like really had something to prove. That's the only one I really remember them blowing teams out left and right. So that's pretty spectacular. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic, as per usual. All right, let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. All right, Sixers back at it tonight, 8 o'clock against the Pelicans. Fully expect Joel Embiid again to dominate. And Tyrese Maxey. Why not get another 30-30 performance here from Maxey and Embiid? 30 points and 30 points. Certainly like to see that. Flyers, unfortunately, lost yesterday. 4-1 to the who was it? The Hurricanes. So that sucks. And then I'm going to end on this because this is amazing. I saw this during my wake up scroll. I think a lot of us do. Well, alarm goes off, wake up, look at the phone, start scrolling. What's going on? 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 So Bradley Cooper was on Howard Stern. And Howard Stern asked him the question, what would you rather have? And I saw this, the Eagles put this out, so you can see it on the Eagles feed. Without hesitation. So Howard Stern asked him, what would you rather have? You win Best Actor, Best Director, and Carey Mulligan wins Best Actress for this Maestro movie, the Leonard Bernstein movie, right? Leonard Bernstein, excuse me. Or the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. He was like, oh, Super Bowl. The fact that Stern, being the great interviewer that he is, threw in the question, Carey Mulligan as well? Oh, you win, and then Carey Mulligan wins, or the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Oh, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Damn, son. Your co-star working her ass off on this movie, and they're saying, Eagles Super Bowl parade. Eagles Super Bowl championship. Raising the Lombardi trophy in Vegas, baby. Carey Mulligan's going to be, dude, what the hell, man? You rather have them win than me? Yeah, go Birds, hon. What else? I had one more thing. But yeah, there you go. That's savage. The idea of him losing Oscars, fine. But the fact that Stern threw in his co-star in Maestro, that's cold-blooded, bro. That's cold-blooded. That's Philly, bro. That's Philly. Go Birds. That's pretty savage. That's pretty savage there, Scooter. Also, one last thing. Shaq Leonard set to visit the Eagles. 3-time All-Pro linebacker Shaq Leonard set to visit the Eagles. You know what's funny? I didn't want Shaq Leonard until he visited the Cowboys and then left the Cowboys. Two schools of thought on that. One, if he was good, why didn't the Cowboys just throw a huge sum of money in his face and say, come on down? Or maybe they didn't. He said, yeah, let me go see elsewhere. Still want to test the market. Still want to test the waters. If the Eagles win this Shaq Leonard, I hate to call it sweepstakes, but sweepstakes then. So hold on a second. Last year they get to add Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. This year they get to add Shaq Leonard. Oh, and they already added Byard. Yeah. Shaq and Kev. Yeah, that was not bad additions there, Howie Roseman. So he's supposed to visit the Eagles today. Hell yeah, I'd make that signing now. I'd absolutely make that signing now. And it's not because I think Shaq Leonard's going to come in here and be your savior. It's because they need a linebacker. And I got all the confidence in the world in Christian Ellis later on. But if I can add that type of experience to this Eagles linebacking core right now, I'm doing it. So yes to Shaq Leonard, and hell yes to the Cowboys losing out on Shaq Leonard. Fantastic. So he signs with the Eagles. I don't think he'd be in this game Sunday. I don't think he'd play that game. And then he'd be available to play against the Cowboys the following week. Oh, do I still have the schedule? I still think I still have the schedule. Yeah, here it is. Play San Francisco, and then following that, you got the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show. Appreciate it. Well, one more comment here. I'm going to flip over to the Jacob Sports Channel. King Pooty TV, I actually love that everyone hates us and saying we get calls. Never thought I would see the day people say refs help Philly. Go Birds. We are living in different times, friend. We are living in different times. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys. Jim Hyder produced the program, did a wonderful job as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.